put people inside. Don't need none of that. And we're live. Gentlemen. Oh, is that going to work there? Bear with me. Bear with me. Oh, come on. This is the struggle is real. What can I use? Give it a second. There we go. There we go. How are we all? Wow. 1 second. I'll be back in just a second. Let me shut this window. It's absolutely lashing down. Oh, gentlemen, how are we? And ladies. So, I know you haven't seen much of me for a little while. I've been getting messages off people, emails, Facebook messages, and all sorts of stuff. People reaching out to me saying, "Is everything okay?" Oh, I'm all right. Anyway, oh, Zazie, oh my God, he's alive. So, guys, look, it's been hectic. It's been hectic. So I thought I'd better drop in and just let you all know I'm okay. I've just been... right, first and foremost, as you can probably imagine, editing videos and stuff, I really enjoy doing it. I love making content. I really do thrive off doing it, like, you know, and it's like as I said to you, it's like a little game for me, you know, competing against the algorithm of YouTube. Like, I do enjoy it, but I'll be honest with you, it takes up a lot of time. And literally, my missus and kids have been sort of like, you know, asking me for a bit more time. And as well, as you know, I was getting quite fat and I wanted to get back into shape. And ultimately, plastering all day, and then I've got two options then. I can either edit videos for most of the night after my tea, or I can go and do a bit of training. But I can't really do both very well. So, that's why I've been a bit quiet. That's why you haven't seen much of me. I've just been spending a bit of time with the missus and kids, spending a bit of time going to the gym, eating right, sorting a few things like that out, you know, health-wise, get myself in good nick again, because I was getting up to about the 17 and a half, 18 stone mark, which, as you know, isn't healthy, and it also makes plastering very difficult as well. So, now... I've been eating right, got myself back down to sort of getting close to a normal sort of weight again. And anyway, I just wanted to let you know what was going on. Appreciate all the messages I've had off everyone. What's Darren McGurk? Are you Everton or Liverpool? Daz, I'll be honest with you, mate. I don't really follow football. How you doing, Dave? Dave Smith? Yeah, I'm not really a footy fan, mate. My mate is big into it. He's a big Liverpool fan, so whenever I go and see him, I pop round his house. I just basically get force fed to watch Liverpool games. But yeah, football isn't really my deal, mate. Oh, flipping heck. So, has everyone had a good Father's Day anyway? I'll tell you what's happened with me. Since you haven't seen me, I started going to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I thoroughly enjoy. And I recently found out as well, it's new generation or next generation it's called. I don't pay any attention, I just know where it is and I just go in. And it turns out that it's the sister gym. There's another one with the same name in Liverpool. I go to one in Birkenhead, or that's where I've been going. And Paddy the Baddy and Meatball Molly go to them ones. So people keep telling me so. I haven't met them, but apparently it's all under the same sort of umbrella. It's all under the same gym. But what I managed to do was, last time I went was last Monday, and I managed to pop my knee. No one doing like a lock or nothing like that. It was you do this little thing called shooting in, where you sort of like drop down to one knee, grab your opponent and pick him up and just, you know, sort of flip him over and drop him on the floor. And as I'm sort of coming up, like standing up, my kneecap popped, but it wasn't too painful. It hurt, but it wasn't, wasn't excruciating pain. So I carried on practicing the same thing, and every time I did it, my knee made a popping noise, and I got a shooting pain. But as I said, it wasn't that bad, so I continued, and it was it was only sort of after like an hour later when I was, because you don't want to sort of be the fanny, do you? Saying, "Oh, I've hurt my knee. Can I sit this one out?" So I just carried on because it wasn't too bad. And then at the end of the session, trying to get back down the stairs, that's what I was like, oh, like every time I was stepping down, my leg was sort of giving out. Just like no, well, a little bit of pain, but it was like it was just my leg was just collapsing. If you know what I mean, I had to like literally hold myself up with my arms on the banister. So I thought I'll be all right tomorrow. Drove home, didn't think nothing of it. It was hurting when I got out of the van. That night, woke me up. It was flipping agony. So now, since then, literally, I've been suffering with a bad knee. It's literally horrendous. Now I can take a bit of pain. I'm not. I've plastered. I've broke knuckles and stuff in the past and carried on plastering. Not a problem. I can get on with it. It's just the fact that it collapses. So every time I get on off a trestle, I get a little bit of shooting pain, but my flipping leg gives out if I get off too quick. So I have to sort of like lower myself down, because if I just sort of step off the top of the trestle down, the knee just, my leg just goes from under me, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, because it's, I was really getting into my training and enjoying it. So now I'm a bit snookered, aren't I? So anyway, I'm not moaning. It is what it is. These things happen, don't they? What have you all been up to anyway? Let's have a look at some of the comments here. Cameron, it's the Undertaker. Douglas Life, nice to see you back, Kirk. Matt from Norfolk signing in. Nice one, Matt. Appreciate it, mate. Danny Arbuckle. Danny's in Thailand, isn't he? Yeah. Hello, mate, all the way from Thailand. Dan, I hope you're training hard, mate. I know you went over there to do a little bit of training. Sounds like you've had a run for your money. I have, Dave, yeah. Ross Scougle. Kirk, just want to say, all your little tips has made me a better plasterer. Just wanted to say a big thank you. Ross, it's an absolute pleasure, mate. It's a pleasure. I'm glad. If anyone can pick up a little, here's the thing, like, if anyone can pick up a little bit of knowledge from anybody else, it's a great thing, isn't it? And if you share tips and little tricks and stuff that you pick up, I pick up things all the time. I'm watching young plasterers, young lads, and they're doing things, and I'm thinking, flipping heck, I never thought of doing that. That's a well better way of doing it, So it's quite a good thing, isn't it? To be able to just pick little bits up off other people. Never be too much of a smart ass to think there's nothing to learn. I flipping constantly want to learn new things. It's you don't ever get to that point where you think you know it all, and then you sort of get set in your ways, don't you? Zazzy, been doing a plastering course to learn some more skills. Spot on, Zazzy. There's so much you can watch online, but ultimately, it's a skill that you've got to learn, isn't it? It's like riding a bike. You can read a book how to do it, but you've literally got to practice it and get out there and get going. Alvin Sellers. Alvin's just commented, I get a sharp pain above my right knee now, Kirk. Feels like someone's sticking a knife in. Can't step up using my right leg now or squat down. Yeah, this is where I'm at, Alvin. So what happens with, I don't want to make this whole thing about my leg, because it's hurting now, I'm just going to tell you. So, my right leg, I'm all right putting weight on it, and I can walk. If I come down the stairs and I put my right leg down onto the step below, it's fine. What the problem is when I try and put my left foot down and my right leg has to bend, and as my right leg's bending trying to support my weight, it just goes. Does that make sense? So it's okay stepping off things onto my bad leg, as long as I keep it straight. But if I try and step off onto my good leg and my right leg has to support me as I'm going down, it just gives in. Which, you see, it's funny, isn't it? Because you forget about it. You know, when you get a new injury, you keep forgetting that you've done it, and then you just try and go like normal, and then it flipping goes. So today, so last time you guys, if you follow my videos, the last things you would have seen was I was sort of halfway through that acrylic rendering job, and that's basically finished now. And I'm sorry because I genuinely had all intentions of just continuing that video series, but there's a couple of reasons why I stopped, and I'll tell you why. So I was doing like a day in the life, I was going to do a video every day for 7 days. Few reasons why I stopped. One, I thought the content, because I was trying to knock one out every day, wasn't the best. My missus and kids wanted more time, so that sort of cut down any time for sort of editing, and ultimately, what I don't know if the algorithm's the same on YouTube, but I'm assuming it is. If you put content out and it doesn't get many views, then the next bit of content you put out doesn't get pushed as far by YouTube. So you can imagine if say I upload a video now and a 1,000 people, it shows up in 1,000 news feeds, YouTube feeds, right? And people watch it, and within 2 minutes they click off it, and the views are really low, and the watch time is really low. The next video I do, YouTube might only show it to 700 people, and if that bums again as well, then the next time only 500 people. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So ultimately, you get rewarded for doing better content, which I didn't really take into account straight off the bat. So when I started that video series, I really should have spent a lot more time editing the videos and making the content good, rather than just little clips of, some people found it interesting, but a lot of people probably didn't. I can't blame you. So ultimately, what happens then is I was basically, in my opinion, I was killing my own YouTube channel off slowly. It probably would have been all right, but I was thinking, you know what? I'm rushing the content. It's not the best quality that I can do. It's hurting me channel. So, and for me as well, I'm on the same job, and it just gets a bit boring. I like to sort of, I've got to try and keep to the original idea of what I was doing. The original idea was I wanted to create content for me little lad. I wanted to create engaging, interesting stuff to teach me son little tips and tricks and how-tos, ultimately for him in the future. That's the whole reason I made this channel. And I feel like it was getting to the point where I was just trying to just fire content out just for the hell of it, and that's not really what I wanted to do. So that's why I sort of canned it, knocked it in the head, spent a bit of time with the missus and kids. Anyway, just look. A few of you guys have just dropped a few comments in, so let's just see what's going on. Danny Arbuckle, yes, mate, I'm flat out. It's so hot out here. I heard it's been hot back home too, though. Looks like I left at the right time. Fuck skimming in that. Yeah, it has been absolutely roasting. I'll be honest with you as well. Right. I'm gonna have to eat my own cap here as well, because I always sort of say, right, and this is not a knock, it's just playful banter. I'm literally not knocking anyone, it's just playful banter. But I always say multi-finishes for beginners, right, and the pros use board finish, only because it sets a little bit quicker. Now, since I've hurt my knee and it's been roasting, I've had to go back to using multi-finish just to give me a little bit extra time, I can just wet it up a little bit, bring it back a little bit, because I'll be honest with you, I've had to get, today I've just done a massive living room ceiling. I know, Father's Day, I was going to go yesterday, but I couldn't get down the stairs yesterday, my knee really flared up, and then, really, I shouldn't have gone today either, but it's one of them. If I don't get the work done, then it just piles up into other jobs, and you end up one job. I mean, unless you just write them off and tell them you're not doing the job for them, it ends up just knocking everything else back and upsetting everybody. So I leave little spaces in my diary. You see, what I do is I'll, as I start getting busier and busier, I start leaving 2 or 3 days here and there. And that way, if I get little jobs I can, that need sort of doing now, like an emergency, a leak or something, I can get to them. Or if I need a day off, I've got a day off. Well, I've sort of used all them little gaps up now of my knee. And now I've got to go, And it's not so much because I want to go and get the money because I'm greedy. It's more so I just don't like letting people down. So these guys have waited for me for a couple of months. I sort of let them down yesterday and had to go in today and do the job today. So young Kieran, I'm probably not great company for him at the minute because my knee's hurting. So I'm like a bear with a sore head with my knee. It's hot. I don't want to be in work. I've been fasting, so I've been doing 24-hour fasts. So basically, it sounds more extreme than what it really is. If you do a 24-hour fast, which I've been doing now for just over a week, you just eat once in 24 hours. So I've been doing that. No alcohol. I mean, that soothes the pain, doesn't it? But I haven't been drinking either. So Kieran, he's just got me in pain, starving, wanting to bite his head off, the poor lad. And he's right. Put a trestle here whilst I put this policy, and then he's got to run and put the trestle ahead of me because I can't get up and down because it hurts and my leg gives out. So he has to just keep moving the trestles round. So he's constantly moving trestles and loading me up so I don't have to get up and down off the trestles and trying to get his own little bit on. And all I'm doing is telling him that his bit isn't good enough. Get that sorted. Get there's a little gap there. Get that, because I'm keeping my eye on what he's doing. I'm just giving him a dog's life, and it's only sort of like when I'm driving home, I think to myself, flipping heck, he's had it quite tough today. He's had to do everything, unload everything, mix everything, put everything back, do his own skimming, and look after me, and get shouted at all at the same time. So, I mean, he doesn't watch these. He's probably sick of the flipping sound of my voice. So I know he doesn't watch these, but if he ever does, Kieran, from the bottom of my heart, son, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for giving you stick. You do deserve it a little bit, though. Thomas Edwards, good to see you back, mate. Fellow spread, loving your videos. I'm real old school fella. Oh, nice one, Tom. Appreciate it, mate. Tim Bell, the legend, returns. Darren McCurk, love your videos. I've got a quick question. Great. Let's do some questions anyway. That's what I want to pop on for. Oh, not plugging this, by the way. I'm not plugging it, but I know a lot of you guys have chipped into it. Don't forget, this month, 30th of this month, we're doing the DeWalt mixer giveaway. So make sure you're on for that, okay? I'll be honest with you, I could really do with. I haven't posted a link for it on this video, but if you want to win it, then you need to get your name down. But I could probably do with putting that link up because I think otherwise I'm gonna have to fund towards it myself. It's okay, don't worry. It's going the 30th of this month. Someone's going to win that DeWalt Mega Mixer. Ultimately, I've been kicking myself in my foot because I should be putting that link out there and doing more videos because I'm going to give this thing away. And at the minute, we haven't quite covered the cost of it, but we're not far off. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to you guys. It only matters to me because otherwise I'll have to flipping chip in myself, won't I? Which wasn't the idea, but 30th. I haven't forgot about it and hope you guys haven't either. Right, Darren's question. Right, I've got a quick question. Darren McGurk. I hope I'm saying your name right, mate. Yeah, it is McGurk, isn't it? Love your videos. Quick question. Just remove the coving from ceiling and a bit of a mess in the gap between the wall and the ceiling. I was going to put some scrim and blend in and some multi, but ignore, but at the end the character count ran out. Okay, Darren, so your character counts ran out and you've just put another little bit, ignore, but at the end the character count ran out. Now I don't know where the rest of your question is. Okay. I'll just assume that your question was, what's the best way of doing it? So, if you've had like the Gyprock Cove, the stick up stuff stuck up, okay, the fastest way of getting that stuff down. So 127 Cove, basically, I call it. It doesn't matter which brand you get. 127. It's the size of it. If you buy British Gypsum's own stuff, because British Gypsum does a smaller size, it comes in a brown box. If you're buying British Gypsum stuff, it'll be in a blue box, and the cornice, as they call it, is in a green box. So blue box, if you see on it, it'll have numbers 127, and then you can buy Lafarge, you can buy Knauf, and they're all the same size. I think maybe a mil or so different. I don't know. They all seem to meet up anyway. Now, if you've had that stuck up around the room, I'll tell you how I get it down. If the people want the coving gone, take a hammer and smash the coved section. Just put holes right the way down it, a continuous hole right the way down it. And then, with a wood chisel, get your chisel in and just tap off the top and the bottom bit, okay? Don't be going into the ceiling or into the, if there's your ceiling, you want your wood chisel, so, and there's like the nib, the cove was here, you want the chisel going right in that way, not in that way. Don't be making holes through the plasterboard or the lath and plaster. Just literally just knock it off. And then I'll spend time, and if there's bits of adhesive still up on the ceiling, I'll literally just get that wood chisel and just tap, 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 tap. Nice sharp wood chisel, just chop all the adhesive off until you get it as flat as you possibly can. Now, once you've done that, you may find that around the edge of the ceiling, there's a little gap, because if the plasterers knew that there was going to be coving put up, sometimes they didn't bother boarding it tight to the wall. If it just, that's where the board landed or whatever, didn't really matter because it was going to get coved over. So you may have a little gap. What I'll do that in that situation is cut a strip of board off. I'll cut a nice, easy to work strip, a 4 or 5 inch strip, so it's about that thick. Hold it up on the ceiling, pencil line, and multi-tool an old bit of the ceiling out. Trying to cut a strip of plasterboard like, an inch thick over, 8 foot. It won't happen. It'll just collapse. So give yourself a nice big piece and hold it in place, pencil mark it, and then cut it out of your multi-tool and then put your new piece in there. That's if there's a little gap. If there isn't a little gap and it's all fine, make sure that you re-scrim the corner in the angle, because again, if the plasterers knew that there was going to be coving going up, they potentially haven't scrimmed the corner. So put some fresh scrim in there, seal it, and then I don't know where you were at then. I don't know what the plan was. If you're just going to feather it in, I would come out, a good 1.5 to 2 foot with your sealer. I prefer SBR, but I am aware that when you're blending in, PVA and water works better for blending in than what SBR does. I use SBR for everything. But if you just sort of like, I don't know where you're up to, mate. I don't know, Darren, if you're a time serve spread. I don't know where you're up to. I'm assuming you're probably a plasterer. So for any beginners out there, when you're blending in, if you use SBR, it completely seals the background, which means when you're feathering in, it is possible. I've got videos, I've done it. It is possible. But PVA, because it sort of goes live again, like goes live, it re-emulsifies, the finish blends in a little bit easier. You get a bit of a nicer blend in. Whereas on the SBR, sort of where it's feathered in, if you pulled away from it, you could potentially tear little bits off the end of it. It's hard to explain. It can slide off it, As you're trying to feather in, you can keep breaking set bits of plaster off, if that makes sense. So 50-50 PVA and water is nicer blending in. But I use SBR because I've got it on the van, so I mean either or. Let's just have a look. What's Danny Arbuckle. Orange bags for amateurs, green bags for professionals. I know what you mean, mate. I prefer multi in the heaters. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't like rushing like a madman anyway. But at the minute, with me knee the way it is, I haven't really got the opportunity to rush. Even if it, if the ceiling starts going off, I literally cannot go faster. So I'm just doing everything I can to sort of slow it down. So I just, like I say, I've threw multi on the go. I could use this. I've got these everywhere, a bit of extra time. But then, what one of them puts an hour on. I didn't really want to be like, an hour extra. So, but that was an option, if it did go off too quick, I could have always thrown one of those in and give it another coat, and I've had a bit more time with it that way. But anyway, the job got done today. It was a nice job, actually. Fan pattern Artex ceiling. And it was a funny one. We had a chimney breast. Now, do you remember, like, I don't remember then because I wasn't born, but in the 70s, I think it was, everyone had these, like, TV stands built in with a chimney breast, like a big thing right around the bottom of the room. It was like the media wall for your grandparents, and it was built out of just brickwork, like a exterior brick with like mahogany tops. You know what I mean, don't you? These were the original media walls. Now we've just upgraded them and skimmed them and made them to go to the ceiling. But yeah, that's what we had on today. Basically, there's this brick thing that goes round the bottom, like little shelves either side of the chimney breast, where the TV was on, and there was a little slot where the video player would go in the bottom, the VCR. We knocked all that down, and there's just the chimney breast then. Now, fair dues, these guys back then went all out because this wasn't even a straight chimney breast. It was brickwork in the living room, and they had curved it in so it went thin at the top and then curved out to the chimney breast, to where the fireplace is, and then it went off them round the room, like round the bottom. So we knocked all the little bits down and just kept the chimney breast, and we squared it off for them, and did a bit of a funny way of doing it, really, because I wanted to sort of get it done how could I put it, cost effectively for them. We were looking at different options, and ultimately the difference between the top and the bottom was about that much. So it's like, so wide at the top. It's like this wide at the top, it curved down, so there was like that much out either side. So what I did was I cut a plasterboard the width of the front so it fitted at the bottom, and then it was overhanging at the tops. Do you know what I mean? Either side was sort of overhanging. And then once I'd done that, and I dabbed that on, and then I got some roof batten and screwed it to the inside of the plasterboard. So you can visualise what I mean. The front of the chimney breast is dabbed on, but there's like a flange at the top. Only the top because the brickwork splays out. And then I screwed roof batten to the sides, and then I put the sides in and dabbed the bottom and screwed it to the roof batten up the top end, and then the bit that was touching the wall, the back wall that the chimney breast was built on, I pencil marked it off where the board was going to sit, sealed it, and then we put a load of adhesive up there and sat the plasterboard into the adhesive, and then just cleaned off the outside and scrimmed it so that when it's set, that board's just sort of dabbed in. Now it's only, chimney breast only stuck off that far. And I put adhesive around the ceiling as well to capture all the boards, so that once all the adhesive sets, the whole thing's just sort of solid, and it just saved having to knock the chimney breast down or to build a stud-work frame. We just sort of did it a quick way, if you will. I mean, the fella knew exactly what we were doing. I said to him, look, this is an option for you. I know this will work. But obviously that joint, that intersection where the two plasterboards meet, they're only screwed to each other. They're not actually attached to anything. So it'll be fine. It'll be solid because the adhesive around the ceiling. I wouldn't recommend building something out to the floor because the last thing you want is someone trying to knock a skirting board onto it and just smashing the thing to bits, Up on the top of the wall, it's not really going to make much of a difference. So we told him, he's took a few pictures so he knows for in the future if he ever wants to hang something on his chimney breast, he knows where the brickwork is. So that was the start. Dry line the chimney breast, knock the little walls down, and then we skim the ceiling and skim the chimney breast. With me hobbling around like a flipping pirate on one leg. Anyway, right, what have we got here now? Darren McGurk, bang on with the name. Everyone gets it wrong. Do you know what, mate? I'm getting quite good at this. The pronunciation of people's names. Wouldn't think I failed English as well in school, but I'm getting quite good at reading, to be fair. Gino, hi Kirk. Got 2 bad knees from keeping 2 spreads going 30 years ago and trying to learn the trade. Know how it feels, mate. The plasterer's hod was a beast of a hod back in its day. Take care, mate. Appreciate Gino. Mate, listen, say this all the time. The plastering game now, it's hard work now for the lads on site. I'm not going to take anything away from the lads on site, right? But us domestic boys, I mean, genuinely, it's still hard work, but it's nothing, is it? I mean, look at these old school plasterers, mate. Mix it up by hand. Can you imagine? Like I did it. I know what it's like. But can you imagine doing that your whole life? I mean, fortunately, I had to go through it for a year or two, like knocking up with a roof batten. I mean, we used to. This little tip for you as well. Don't use a pool cue to mix you know, you got your stick and your podger, so you want to knock all the lumps, sort of not get it to the right consistency of your stick, and then knock it up with your podger to get all the lumps out. When you're using your stick, if you use something round, it's not as efficient. If you use a roof batten, like the squared edges, it seems to mix it quicker. Now I've actually tested that as well myself, going at the clappers, see which one works faster, and the roof batten seems to work far better than a pool cue. But them were harder days, weren't they? You know, ceilings getting boarded, you know, nailed by hand. All your dry lining was all nailed on. All your stuff was mixed by hand. Flipping heck, that was hard graft. That fair play to the old school plasterers that did it like that. Me dad's generation and that. Flipping heck. Andy Slated Peels. Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about when you're blending in on the when you're blending in on SBR, it peels. If you get peeling, by the way, when you're blending in, if it starts to tear and peel, flat brush, dip it in the water, brush it. You've got it every time. Oh, sorry, Dan, I should have said to you, every time when you go on that blend, wet it, brush it, wet. Don't just put water, brush it, wet. And then also, how can I explain this? Right, this is very difficult for me without showing you. Just whilst I've got you, Darren, imagine that is your ceiling, right? And there's your new plaster just gone on the edge where the cove's gone, yeah? So let me try and get this right. Now, imagine that's the plaster, and there's your ceiling. Don't just keep pulling your trowel out this way, because you'll get a ridge here. You've got to come along this way. You've got to trowel that way across the blend, all right? Brush it and come this way. You can go that way as well, but you've got to come this way. You've got to go across like that. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Because otherwise, that new plaster won't blend into that. You'll end up with a little ridge. Okay, so make sure you go that way. Wet it every time and go that way. All right, so I would literally, I'm going around a ceiling. I'll reach forward as far as I can with my flat brush, dip it in the water, brush it just as far as I can reach with one little stretch, and then trowel that bit, and then I'll go forward a little bit and I'll brush more. You know, I'll do about, probably wet about a metre at a time and then blend it in, and then wet about a metre and blend it in. If you try and wet the whole length, if you brush the whole length from one end of the room to the other and then go back to the start and start trying to blend in, the water will have dried in. You know, the background probably will have pulled your water out and it loses its effect. And then you start getting peeling and tearing. So just keep wetting it. Every time it peels or tears, just wet it down a little bit and you should be all right, mate. Andrew McIntosh, agree. SBR tries to tear when feathering, but great for full walls and ceilings. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll use this. I know this isn't the best prop, is it? Not sat here flipping all sorts of crap trying to demonstrate things. Imagine, get that straight, there we go. Imagine this is your new plaster and you're blending into this and you've SBR'd it. When you pull this way, when you're coming out here, little bits of this will slide across on the SBR. Whereas if you've PVA'd this, 50-50 PVA and water, it sort of reemulsifies and sticks, and you don't get as much plaster tearing off. Now, I'm not backtracking. I only use SBR, but I am aware that if you're sort of new to the game and you're not used to patching in, I mean, I've done tons and tons of patching. I can do it with, not with my eyes shut, but you don't have to think about it no more. I can just do it on autopilot, whereas I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of, like, if I was trying to tell Kieran how to do it, then I'd probably make his life just a little bit easier. It's not a game changer, but it would be a little bit easier to do with PVA and water for blending in. You just get a little bit more suction, which helps keep the stuff in the right place, if that makes sense. Because PVA lets a little bit of suction come through, it'll keep your gear still and not let it slide across like a sealed surface. Ashley Horgan. Hi, Kirk. Sorry, long time. I've been grafting, getting this apprenticeship out of the way. Nice to see you back on it. Cheers, Ashley. Hey, I haven't, to be fair, mate, I haven't heard of you for a while, Ash. Hope you're keeping well, mate. Paul Connigan. Where have you been? Paul, mate, listen, I've just been through it, so I don't want to bore the guys again, but just to give you a little bit of an insight, mate. I love making content, really enjoy it. It takes quite a lot of time, and I'm not complaining. I love it. The main focus of my channel was to create the best content that I could, and to sort of leave something for me lad, grandkids, and a little bit of me. And ultimately, I feel like I fell into a trap of just pumping content out for the sake of pumping it out, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. So one, I don't want to do you guys a disservice by just putting out mediocre crap just to get views, when ultimately, because the content wasn't good and because it wasn't as interesting, because I'm not doing the content that I want to do, I'm just trying to sort of like keep the videos coming out, ultimately your view time goes down, which hurts my channel as well. So it was like a two-edged thing with that, and it's a little baby, haven't I, so I wanted to spend a bit of time with the missus, make sure she's getting enough of me time. She's probably sick of me anyway. You got to try, haven't you? so I was spending a bit of time with the missus and kids, and the little fella. So I've just took a little bit of time out of them. And also, since the little fella came along, mate, I was, eating crap and drinking loads and getting quite porky. So if you go back to my very first ever videos, you can see my usual condition, and then look at me sort of like the last couple of videos and see what I had turned into. Well, now I'm on my road back to going, me old self, mate, So I've been fasting and training as well. I've been doing a bit of training and eating right and spending time with the missus and kids. So I do apologise. I haven't disappeared. But I do appreciate all the people reaching out to me as well. Thank you. Let's see. Ashley, I found SBR does this. I just thought this was just me. No. I mean, SBR is a fantastic product. I'll never go back to using anything else. But as with everything, there's pros and cons, I don't struggle blending in with it because I know how the product behaves. I know how the plaster is going to behave on top of the SBR. So I'm aware of it, so I know how to work with it. But if you've never done it before and you've used SBR, and you might be thinking you're doing something wrong, but it's just, you've just got to work along the stuff, not away from it. Andrew McIntosh, yep. When I was a learner, I had a stick and podger for skim and a tin bath tipped up at one end because of the proverbial hole in the bath. Yeah. Been there, mate. We, to be fair, I didn't have a tin bath though. I had a big plastic bath, Benson's hands tools on the side of it, the big old plasterer's bath. Marin Building and Roofing. Good evening, pal. How are you? Marin Building and Roofing, mate. I'm spot on. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for asking. Eric C, great to have you back. Cheers, Eric. And Ashley, yeah, man, just working hard, brother. getting my game up, hitting full kitchens, working on my wet to wet internal angles, and hitting bigger sets. That's it, mate. That's it. The wet angles. The wet angles. I work wet angles. Some fellas, my dad hated it. My dad only ever wants to work hard angles. I mean, it all depends. It all depends on the situation. But for me, I'm not bothered. I'll work wet angles or hard angles. But I don't like using an angle trowel either. I find that you can just run the toe of your trowel, mate. Just try on smaller gauges. I mean, you might already be doing this, but if you're not, just try this. When you're working a wet angle, just get two sides on, two walls or a ceiling of a wall, or and just try getting that angle as neat as you can. Don't go into your angle loaded up with a full trowel of gear. Just wipe it off, take a little bit. If you're watching any videos, wipe it off, take a bit, and then go into the angle neat and pull it out. Try and keep that angle clean and sharp, and then as you start getting to, say, you flattened it in your first wet trowel, your second wet trowel, use the corner of your trowel and just run it down the angle. Just take your time. You can't, you can dig in, so you've got onto the other surface of your trowel, so it takes a little bit of practice, but if you can get used to doing it with your trowel, it just saves you having to have a corner trowel with you. And then as well, guaranteed, if you've got a corner trowel, some idiot will stand on it and knock it out of shape for you. So, I mean, you don't have to even worry about having one then. I mean, even if you don't ever do it like that, even if you decide that finishing the corner of your trowel is too much tedious fanning around, you'd rather just run it down at your corner trowel, still practice using the toe of your trowel, because then you never have to rely on your corner trowel. If that ever goes missing, or breaks, or someone pinches it or stands on it, then at least it's not panic stations. You'll be okay. Andrew McIntosh, yep, still have a plastic bath out in the backyard. I've got 3 plastic baths. I never mix up in them. We mix up in the we always mix up in the big refiner tubs. That's what I use. Or as of lately, we've been trying to use the spot board as much as possible, but I have been doing rendering jobs. I've literally had months of rendering jobs, so I haven't done a great deal of internal skimming. But that being said, when I have, and I've had the opportunity, I try and get the spot and stand out as much as possible, just because it's so much easier. It's just nicer to work off. But my plastic baths, I tell you what I use them for. Dashing. When you're doing a dry dash, you put your stuff on the wall, and then you're flicking your stones at it, and it all falls. Now, I've seen fellas in the past using sheets, bits of plywood, dashing trays, with belts around the neck and all sorts of stuff. Just try this next time. Put your plastic bath right up tight. Render, move your bath out of the way, just slide it back a foot, put your render on. As soon as that's on the wall, slide your bath back up to the wall. Keep it away from don't ram it into your cement. Keep it away about 1/4 inch. Stand inside the bath to keep it still. Flick your dash. The stones that are dropping in, you can literally scoop them back out of the bath, flick them on the wall again. As soon as you've done your area and you need to put more stuff on, slide the bath back. Don't let any cement fall in your bath. But literally using a plastic bath for dashing is the way forward. I always have 3 of them on a job, so that way you have sort of one next to each other and one below if you're on the scaffolding to catch any extra bits as well, and just have the lads pull them in and out. What we got here now? Sorry guys, I should just reading the comments here. Andrew McIntosh, yep, still have a plastic bath out in the backyard. Danny Arbuckle, I used to hate them, then actually prefer them now, to be honest. Don't have clean adjoining wall, often wet, and I use a corner trowel, but wall should already be flat by then and straight. Yeah, I prefer wet angles, because as you say, if you go up to a bone dry angle, you got to start wet. Well, I don't wet them down, just go in neat, but even still, I just prefer wet angles. Ashley, I've been trying to freehand it like that. I like to put pressure on myself I find if I use a corner trowel, it goes wonky somewhere along the line. But I'll try that little trick. Thanks, Kirk. Yeah, we'll just see how you go, mate. Just takes a little bit of practice. What you don't want to be doing is trying to do it when you've got a big hit on. So just take your time. When you've got a little gauge on, just practice it then when you're not under pressure. Because the last thing you want to do is like start digging in and stuff, and you're under pressure, and you're like, so. Good idea with the bath when dashing. Oh, mate, trust me, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. And as well, the bottoms of the walls, when I get down to the bottom 2 or 3 foot, I don't even bother. Usually you've got a bucket under your arm, haven't you? And you're flicking your dash from there. When I get to the bottom, sort of like, 2 or 3 foot of the wall, I just hit my bags of stones directly into the bath and just scoop it out of the bath and flick it from off the floor, basically, but it's inside the bath. James, what causes plaster to go off too quick before getting a chance to flatten when over skimming old walls? Okay, James, what causes plaster to go off too quick before getting a chance to flatten when over skimming old walls? Right, you've got a few things that you've got to try and control, James. A few variables that you've got to try and, as best as you possibly can, bring under your control. You've got to remember the plaster's setting all the time, so you don't put too much on. If you're just getting into the game, mate, and you're starting out, maybe mix up half a bag of plaster and see how you get on with half a bag. You should be able to get a small wall on with half a bag of plaster. Because if you take too long getting it on, the stuff starts to set. So that's your first issue. The plaster's always setting. Second issue is, if you don't seal the background, you get suction. So you've got to control the suction. You've got to think of the background, the wall that you're going over, the old wall is your background, and that will have some degree of suction. To seal that wall and kill the suction off, you can paint it with all different sealers. I prefer SBR. I find SBR to be the very best sealer. Kills suction dead, especially if you do it the day before. So if you can seal the walls the day before and skim them the next day, and you use SBR neat, then that gets rid of suction. So that your suction's out the equation then. Then you've just got 2 other variables that you've got to deal with. One being temperature. If it's hot, that sets the plaster off quick. So on a hot summer's day, the plaster will set faster than what it will in the dead of winter. You can't really do much about the temperature outside, but you can control the temperature inside to a degree. For instance, if the heating's on in the room that you're working in, turn the heating off and turn it off, a couple of hours beforehand, so it's literally cooled down in there. So you can sort of deal with that. And then the third factor is wind. If there's a breeze blowing through, if you've got the windows open, if there's a front door open and a back door, and you're working in the corridor between, and there's gusts of wind, just think of plaster like drying clothes out. If you put clothes to dry out on the maiden or whatever on your washing line, they're going to dry out faster on a hot day. So's your plaster. They're going to dry out faster on a windy day. So's your plaster. If you sort of like press clothes onto paper towels, the towel will suck the moisture out. It's the same principle with the background of the plaster. If you don't put a seal between it, then moisture, and as well it's setting. So they're the variables that you've got to work against, mate. Try and bring all those under control. Shut the windows, make sure that the heating's off, and seal the background, and don't put too much on, and you should be okay. Anthony, yeah, mate, the plastic bath catching dry dash is the only way. Yeah, do you know what? I learned that the hard way as well, because I've tried so many different ways of collecting stones. I remember one house back when I was in my 20s, because I worked with fellas that always had these little dashing trays, so they'd have like a box like sort of strapped onto the front of them. It'd be sort of like up against the wall, and as they're flicking stones, it'd be catching it on this little tray. That I don't know if that's a thing throughout the whole country, or if that's just what a few lunatics did when I was learning to plaster. But that way wasn't working for me. So then what we were trying to do was put sheets down on the floor. So you'd fold the sheets back, put your sand and cement on, because the last thing you want to do with your stones is let your stones mix with the wet cement. Right, because then you can't reuse them, because then it's like you're flicking dog turds at the wall, basically, big clumps of cement. So you don't want to do that. So to try and keep them separate, we had like a sheet on the floor to catch any cement so it didn't go on to stay in the path. But then, as soon as we finished putting the render on, we put another tarp on top to catch the stones. And the idea was, you flick all your stones and you pick the tarp up and you get all your spare stones away. The problem is, when you're sort of putting a big gable on, you've got a lad at the bottom trying to do that and load up, and it doesn't take long before the sheet starts getting too heavy with stones, and then, just flip it. We must have had a skip full of cement and stones at the end of the job that we had to sling. It was just trust me, just use the plastic bath. Just save yourself a headache. It just cost me like extra money in skips and materials, and it was just the mess was everywhere. Dashing can go wrong quite quick if you don't know what you're doing with it. But trust me on the bath, use the plastic bath. Don't let cement go in it. Make sure it's out of the way when you're putting the butter coat on, and then put it back in nice and neat. Just off, don't ram it into the cement, just off a little bit when you're flicking your stones. The only bit that you can't catch is the bottom bit, the thickness of the bath. But what you can do, I'll show you. Just stay there 1 second. I'll show you what I've done. Bear with me. I'm back. I've got 3 baths. Here's the third one. I've cut it down. It's literally 6 inches, because that fits underneath the bell cast bead for when you're dashing at the very, very bottom. Okay, that's one thing you can do. I'll tidy that later. But that's one way. Because when you get to the very bottom of your wall, you can't, the last little bit of dashing, you've got nothing to sort of catch it because the bath's too high. You can just cut one down with an angle grinder. That's that problem solved. Right. Let's see where we're up to with the comments here. Well, naughty crocodile. No, okay. I'll just read your comments anyway. I'm the naughty crocodile. Where's the cheeky monkey throwing stones at me from the tree? How about I bite? Okay. Okay, mate. Hope you've had a nice Sunday. Ashley, I'm off now, my man. I had 5 screaming kids all day, lol. I'll hit you up soon. Take care, bro. Yeah, see you later, Ash. Take care, my mate. Andrew McIntosh, that problem with setting will be suction from the background more than anything else. Yes, sorry, Andrew's right, mate. That suction is the main thing that you'd be up against, mate. Especially with the old lime horsehair backing. SPR is best for killing the suction. He agrees with the wind and heat as well. Okay, listen, the naughty crocodile. We get the drift of what you're saying, pal. So you don't need to spam the Life Help Me comment section, hey? Because otherwise I'll turn into the naughty monkey and come and catch you. TT, hello, Kirk. You all right, mate? Are we live? Yes, we are, mate. Just give us a second. I'm just going to see. There we go. The naughty crocodile. Sorry, pal. I've enjoyed your comments, but I'm going to have to just put you on timeout. There we go. Sorry, mate. Listen, I'm all for a little bit of banter, but you can't just post the same message 100 times because it gets in the way of everyone else's stuff. Oh, I've cocked it up, There we go. So anyway, gents, so that's it. That's the script. You know where I've been now. You know what's been going on. Yeah, a little bit of time out, a little bit of time with the missus and kids. I'm. What we on next? Where am I up to? I've got a conservatory ceiling on the go tomorrow. That might be interesting, actually. In fact, I tell you what, I'm going to try. I'll get a video popped out tomorrow, or well, the day after probably. I'll get the footage tomorrow. We're on a conservatory ceiling tomorrow. It's a warm roof for a conservatory ceiling company. We're going to use foil back boards and stuff, vapor check boards. It's got a little bit of a cove and stuff in it, so I mean you'll see me hobbling round. So we'll see if we can get something sorted tomorrow. Let's have a look what's going on here now. TTV Live. Yeah. Andrew McIntosh. I've just blocked him. Yeah, no. The naughty crocodile. Fucking give me a break, man. How do these people find? What do they want? There's some flipping lunatics in the world, isn't there? Sorry, listen, the naughty crocodile. No hard feelings, mate. We all like a banter. Darren McQuirk. By the way, Kirk, you look a little bit like Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew must be a good-looking fella, mate. That's all I'll say. I struggle getting coats on at the same thickness. I usually find I put more gear on the top of the wall 2 millimeters and end up a millimeter or so less at the bottom due to it being more awkward applying the plaster. Well, I mean, if you trowel it up, then I don't really. I'll be honest with you, mate. I do a lot of reskims, so some areas, I can be building out to beads, and the stuff's going on like flipping half an inch, 3/4 of an inch thick in places, and then where there's bumps in the wall, we're basically just we just feathered out to nothing. So I mean, I don't measure the thickness and try and get it an even thickness. All you ultimately want to be doing is making sure that the final finish of your work is full. There's no hollows in it, no lumps and bumps. It's full and flat, and that's it really, with no blemishes. It doesn't really matter if some bits gone a bit thicker and other bits a bit thin, because you're going over old stuff. If the old stuff isn't perfect and your bit is perfect, then there's going to be difference in thicknesses. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just try not to scrape it on. What you may be doing is, when you bring it down from the top, if you're pulling down, the stuff sort of slides down the wall with your trowel. Whereas if you're bringing it up the wall, you may be finding if it's going on too thin, if it's going on too tight, you might be finding that you're scraping it up the wall, and that could be one or two things. You might be applying a bit too much pressure with your trowel, or a bit too much edge. So imagine that's the trowel blade with the plaster on here. If you're doing it like that and scraping it up the wall, you might want to give it less edge, and just sort of taper it down a little bit like that, So just check the angle of your trowel, that you're not scraping it up the wall. That's all you want to keep your eye on that. Ultimately, your first coat, you want to make sure the wall's completely finished and you can't see any background through it, Let's have a look. Where are we going? Oh, shit. Right. I have got... Look, I usually use this thing. I usually use this. Right, and have this set up. But this happened. That fell off. So I can't use it. I mean, ultimately, laziness on my part, because it only take a bit of super glue on the end of that in there, or just buy another one. But I just never got around to it. So we're getting over things, aren't we? You're having to deal with all sorts, aren't you, with me today? Sorry, boys, I feel like I'm letting you down. I'm using flipping all sorts of crap as props. The camera's going everywhere. Official Plazy T. Okay, I can't pronounce that. Guys, we found Kirk. Yeah, spot on. Andy, glad all's good, matey. Keep up the good work, Andy Wolverhampton. Andy, I know it's you, mate. I recognise the little Google image, your little Google picture, mate. Let's have a gander. Marron Building and Roofing. I'll be building a block garage at my house and was going to traditional sand and cement, but fancy a bash at one of them modern methods. I like the look of the system you used on that non-standard construction build. Any tips other than don't use my best talk? Yeah, yeah. So if you're looking at doing so I'm assuming you're looking for the external. The external, what would I do? It's funny, right? It's funny. So I built this. I know it doesn't look much from in here because all you can see is just burnt pallet wood, but that's just the look I wanted to go for. I wanted it sort of feeling like a bit of a log cabiny sort of feel inside here. But I built this, I'm my workshop. And everyone said to me, are you going to plaster inside here? Are you going to skim it? And outside, I could have put some monocouche render on, some K-rend or could have done all sorts of things. I was thinking of doing all different things, different things scraping through to different colours. But, when it come down to it, I thought to myself, do you know what? I actually love the fact that I didn't do any plastering. In here is all cladded with timber. In the workshop's just cladded with plywood and it's block work, and on the outside I've just put like this tongue and groove, what do they call it now? It's like eco polyurethane foam stuff. It's not a white plastic cladding. It looks like timber, and it's like a coffee colour. Cost me an arm and a leg. Would have been well cheaper to render it, but I just thought to myself, do you know what? I'm building it. All I do is plastering day in, day out. I don't want to do any plastering on this. So I sort of set my stall up that I wasn't going to get a handboard and trowel out on this build at all. But if I was going to go down, you've got a block work garage that you're going to build. So I would say, here's my advice to you, mate. Acrylic render is nice. I use acrylic only when I'm going over insulation, because ultimately I think monocouche render, like K-rend, anything scraped render, I think is a better, slightly better look, slightly better finish. Now, with the acrylics, you've got a, the thin coats. Let's just call it thin coats and scraped. That's going to be easier, isn't it? Right. So the one that I've just done on the non-traditional build, that's a thin coat system on top of polystyrene. Right. With that, the beauty of it is it's very lightweight, it's very flexible. So if you're worried about any movement or what have you, there's far less chance of that stuff cracking. It's very thin, it's very light, and you can literally pick any colour you can imagine. Like literally, you can pick any colour you want. There's different size grains that you can pick. So it is a nice product. I think a scraped render is slightly more pleasing to the eye. Now, an untrained sort of person, someone that isn't a plasterer, potentially wouldn't spot the difference, but a plasterer would. If you've done both, you'd spot. And one of the main things I like about the scraped render is the bead work. You get your beading perfect, and it's like a border around all the stuff that you do, and the contrast between depending on what colour beads you use, you can use the same colour beads, but then white beads with polar white and stuff, which isn't actually polar white, it's more like magnolia, but it really stands out with a scraped render, is my opinion. That being said, there's other finishes. A nice Tyrolean done properly, not where it's running down the wall, and when you've hit it, 3 times with a Tyrolean gun, which is horrendous, by the way. But if it's on your place and it's only little, it's just a garage, it's not a full house, then a Tyrolean finish can be really quite nice, and you can put K-rend through your Tyrolean gun. Just mix it like literally like piss and Tyrolean it on. That's quite nice. I don't know. I think if I had the option of going onto a brick wall, I probably wouldn't do acrylic unless it was we were really tight on space, or we were worried about a little bit of movement. If there was two different types of background and stuff, then that's the only reason I'd lean towards acrylic. I only really use acrylic when we have to over insulation. Not knocking it. I just think that the scrape renders are slightly nicer looking. Let's just scroll back up here now. Guys, I can't stay on for too much longer anyway, so if you're getting bored of me, don't worry, I'm going to clear that soon. I've got a few things I need to get done. Do you know what as well? That's something else. I just had fun with the my accountant and the tax. So my tax return has just gone in late for last year. A little bit my fault, because I didn't get bank statements and all my accountant is proper, everything's got to be perfect, and he was on my case, and I didn't get everything he wanted straight away, and then he's been busy, and things about anyway. So I knew I was getting I got the penalty, I got the late fine, the late filing penalty, and anyway, we've just got round to doing it now, and my accounts just got submitted last week, and because the accounts of this last year as well can also go in, they're not due yet, but they can be filed. Because he was rushing to put me accounts in, he's actually put them in the wrong year. So he filled out my tax return he's meant to do this year, so he worked it all out to do that year, and then when he filed it, he's put it in this year. So this year now has got all that years in. So he's dealing with it. He's redone it and told them that this one's not right, because it's got all the flipping coronavirus stuff in it. The payments for all that. So there's all that mixed up in it, and it's just a flipping nightmare. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. HMRC. It must be that. Here he is again, Mr. Johnstone. Come on down. Let's get into your bank account. Flipping heck. Flipping vultures there wanting more money, aren't they? So let's see where we're up to. Andrew McIntosh, yeah, I agree with the angle of the trowel and applying. Yeah, it's a very easy sort of thing to be getting wrong, that angle of the trowel. You got to sort of play around with that. Just get the feel for it. If you just starting out as well, if you're plastering a wall, just put a little wall on first and just try different angles and just see what it does. Just so you sort of learn plastering by trial and error. People always think you're never going to plaster perfect straight out the box. You're not going to just start doing perfect work, and you shouldn't want to. You sort of learn by your mistakes. Nobody ever learns to walk by just getting up and walking. You fall over, don't you? You got to keep falling over enough times to realise, if I do that, I fall over. If I do that, I fall over. If I do this, I fall over. And then ultimately, that's how you become better and better. So you've got to sort of keep cocking things up a little bit to realise what not to do. And that's how you're going to get better. So, yeah, I'd get some plaster on the wall and go over it and use different angles and different amounts of pressure. And you'll just get the right feel for it. Then you'll just start to see, that works. That leaves it nice. Because as you go on through your gauge, as you're troweling up, your trowel will slightly change. You will start to give it a little bit more edge as you're going on. Jameer Ali, Kirk, buddy, make a video while you're training. Yeah, do you know what I would do, mate? Oh no. How did you get back in here? The naughty crocodile. Okay, now do us a favour, mate. Give us a break. I'm your pet. You can walk me on a lead like a dog, even though I'm a crocodile. I've got your back. I'll bite people's ankles. Do us a favour, mate. Sunday. All right, I haven't done a YouTube video for ages. Just go and flipping comment on someone else's stuff. You leave me alone. TT, don't encourage him. Danny Arbuckle. Where's Paul Hogan when you need him? Right, Marine building and roofing. I'm the other way, Kirk. Do lots of the other methods and fancy something different. Fair enough. We'll have a bash at the K render. Yeah, I mean, acrylic is lighter work. It's easier to do. It's easier on the arms. All day sort of putting straight render on, laying it on the walls, heavy, you know, especially if you're putting a big shift in, putting a big amount on, and then scraping it. You know, I usually end up scraping by myself, only because I get paranoid about flipping people scraping through to the back coat. So I like to do it all myself with the eye bar. I mean, and that can take its toll as well. It is harder work, 100%. But I think if it was my own place, I would prefer scraped rather than acrylic. Right, guys, I'm going. The crocodile's terrorising me. Gents, it's been emotional. Yeah, we'll get a bit of content out tomorrow. We'll try to. I'll take the footage anyway. We'll get a little bit of filming done tomorrow. Something a bit different. I don't want to make boring content. I want it always to be interesting and different. So, yeah, tomorrow we'll be looking at putting some coves in on some plasterboard ceilings, potentially, unless the customers want to keep the lines. I don't know. I never know. All I get when I do this work for this window firm is all I get is an address and a brief description. I literally turn up blind to these jobs without meeting the customers or anything. Fortunately, the fellow that I do the jobs for is an absolutely fantastic bloke. I mean, as far as a window fitting company, window fitters and conservatory company go, I think they're the best. And I'm not saying that because, I mean, you'll never see this, and I'm not even going to mention his company name, so it's not like it's going to get him any work. But listen to this. When I first started working for him, he phones me up, this fella, Steve, his name is, calls me up. He says, Kirk, I need a plasterer. I need some windows and whatever, you're patching round and a conservatory doing. Now, I've worked for window firms in the past. Now, I'm not knocking any window firms, but usually what you find is that they want the plastering done as cheap as humanly possible. You know, these fellas, window salesmen, are trying to make as much money as they can, so they want the work done for as little as possible so that their profit margins are bigger. I understand it's how business works. So when this fella, I mean, you just get a bit long in the tooth for it though, don't you? You know, I don't want to be wasting my time or his time. So when he initially reached out to me and said, you know, he wants this work doing, I said, look, if you're stuck, if you're pressed now and you just need these jobs doing, then I'll go and do them for you. Not a problem, you know. But just so you know, going forward, I'm not going to be your cheapest plasterer, you know. I just set my stall out straight away because I don't want to, you know, if the fella just wants cheap work, then I'm going to be the wrong fit for him. So I thought, if you need this doing, I'll do it for you. But going forward, you might potentially want to look for another plasterer because I've worked for window firms before and I'm not going to be your cheapest plasterer. There's going to be cheaper guys than me, you know. And what was interesting was, he said to me, I've heard of your reputation, Kirk. He said, I'm not so much bothered about the price. He said, I'm trying to put together a good team of lads that we just turn out top-class work, you know. Great fitters, great plasterer, electricians, plumbers, you know, all top lads that just turn out top-quality work. He said, I want to make a team that we work well together and the jobs are perfect. Have you ever heard that before? I've heard double-glazing salesman. Blown away. So that was the start of it. I thought, that's quite an interesting thing. I've never heard anybody say that to me before. And then it turns out as well, the fella is the easiest man in the world to deal with. Like literally, I can't knock the man. He gives me a little bit of lead time every now and then. Every now and then he drops me on a little job. You know, he'll message me and say, "Can you do a job for me next Wednesday?" You know, and I've got my diaries full. But hear me out. I'll tell you why I do it. He sends me the address. I just turn up, do the job. I don't go and price it. I just send him an invoice that day or the next day, and I'm paid straight away, instantly. Never, ever been questioned over why was this much, why wasn't this that. Never questions anything, just pays instantly. If I get my invoice in before 12 o'clock, I get paid the same day. If it's after 12 o'clock, I get paid the next morning. No hassle, ever. So, and I don't make any hassle for him, you know. He knows that the jobs are always clean and the customers are always happy and the work will be right, and that's it. Now, not saying I don't turn up to some shocking things, you know. You never know what you're going to turn up to. It's like a flipping surprise every time you go. But I can't fault the guy. So, that's who we're on for tomorrow. So I don't know what I'm going to yet. I know it's a warm roof. I know it's a conservatory roof that's, tiled on the outside. That's brand new. They've just built it, and I've got to go and plaster the inside. So we'll see tomorrow morning what's going on. So let's have a look. Any last comments before I pop off? Darren McGurk, thanks for the advice, Kirk. Don't forget to post a link for the DeWalt mixer. Jordan, hi, I joined late. Hope you had a good Father's Day. Cheers, Jordan. Actually, we've just been had a lovely meal. Well, the meal was lovely. Everything was spot on. But now we've got an 8-month-old baby who likes to let his presence be known wherever we go. I mean, he's in the house now. Quiet. He just mooches around on the living room floor, you know, scoots around on his little ass. Don't earn nothing of him. As soon as you take him into public in the restaurant, oh yeah, he's, you know, wah, wah, not crying, just shouting, just letting everybody know he's there. And, you know, all he wants to do, he plays a little game now. He likes to grab things and throw them straight on the floor. So if he sits up in his little buggy and he can reach his little buggy bag where, you know, my missus keeps all his nappies and all that caper, he just reaches in there and just throws things out. He's just like literally just pulling things out of the bag like this, you know. Don't know what that's about, but that's what he likes to do. So I'm trying to eat my meal. He's pulling bits off my plate, slinging them, shouting at the top of his voice. The minute we get him back outside in the car, quiet, like butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. Too much time with his mum. That's what I think it is. He's picking up her bad habits. Oh yeah, the link for the sorry mate, just whilst you're talking about the link for the mixer, I'll tell you exactly where you can find the link, mate, so you don't miss it. If you want the link to get the DeWalt mixer, click on my channel. Just click on, you know, on the trial. Go to community posts. You know, you got videos, shorts, and I'm sure community posts is after that. You can just scroll across community posts and just go down the post, and you'll find it. It's there. It might be like the second or third post down. There'll be a link for it there, mate. You can get your name down on there. So 30th of this month, someone will win that. We're going to TT. You're going for walk, naughty. Backy, go. 56 degrees west right now. You'll find it. The naughty crocodile is going to mix water and electricity. Be careful, mate. Danny Arbuckle, that's what I'd like to see, mate. Danny Arbuckle, that's what I'd like to see, mate. A how-to on how to board and skim one of those weird wavy conservatory ceilings, as I've never done one before. Yes, Danny, I don't believe you've never done one, but I will do a how-to on it. So ultimately, if the customer wants a curve in, sometimes they want to keep the sharp angles, which is not too bad in this case. When they want to keep the angle, you know, the 45s, sorry, get my hands right, the 45 splays like this on the conservatory ceilings, because it sort of goes up, little nib, and then down again. It has like a little flat bit in the middle. I like to completely curve them depending on how the lighting is. If they've got spotlights, that's fine. If they've got a centre pendant, you can't just completely curve it, because then they've got to try and fit a ceiling rose to a curve. So it all depends what the situation is and how it's going to play out. And if it's built out of timber and you've got a splay like a 45, if the timber's got any little bend in it, it looks horrendous when you're 45. That line is not. I mean, you can do so much with plaster, but ultimately, it's nice the fact that these warm roofs, that this system that the firm that I'm doing this for, it's all metal, and it's always perfect. It literally just comes out of the factory, so it's quite easy to do either or. I'd like to curve it. I find it easier curving it because you can put it all on in one. Whereas when you're trying to, little nibs here and there that aren't curved in, it's a bit of a pain in the arse trying to do it with all the little triangles, because it all meets. It's hard to explain. You'll just see on the video, but all the little triangles meet at one little point, and you got to have your small tool and all sorts of stuff. Richie 94, hi mate, glad to see you back on here. Hey, cheers Richie. Right, I did get a what's name before. Let me just check something. Right, I do want to just say as well, Reg Hocking has sent me a lovely message. Reg, appreciate you reaching out. So a few guys reached out to me, sent me emails, and found me on Facebook and messaged me asking if everything was okay. And Reg is one of those guys. So Reg, appreciate it. And Gordon as well. If Gordon's watching, cheers, guys. There's a few others, so I do apologise. I'm just thinking of guys that have just recently messaged me, so the name's sort of standing out. But Reg, the gentleman, he just said give us a shout out, Kirk. Anytime, mate. Right, gents. Oh, Sunday, what time are we on now? It's 9:30. I'm going to go in now, put my little poorly leg up, see if I can squeeze a bit of sympathy out the missus, see if I can get her to make me a coffee. Right, Danny, honestly, mate, never done one. Always shield away from them, top man. All right, well, I'll tell you the only interesting bit is when the ceiling comes up and curves like this, that's fine. It's when the other angles come into it, you end up with a little section. It's like about that big, when it's got to be curved, and you end up, I'll tell you a little trick, where it all joins together, and it's got to be curved in. You need a spoon, the back of a spoon, to get that little. It's only a little area like that, but it's like it ends up being like the inside of a ball, if that makes sense. I find a spoon is the best thing to finish that little bit with. But we'll see what they want tomorrow, and we'll do a video, see how it goes. Gentlemen, it's been emotional. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry I haven't seen you for a while. Thanks for sticking around, bearing with me. Take it easy. Hope you've had a good Father's Day. If not, hope you've had a good Sunday. Enjoying this weather. We've had a bit of rain here, so it's been nice to clear the air a little bit. But anyway, I'm going to stop waffling. Adios. Take care, fellas. Are you sure you want to stop swimming? Yeah, I'm right. I'm going. TT, very emotional. Goodbye. Yes, mate. And where's our little mate? The naughty crocodile. I'll have to learn how to fucking properly block you, aren't I? You little rascal. See you later.